Greetings. This is the Grumpy Old Slan, and today we're going to be taking a look at the fantastic art of Frank Frazetta, Book 2. Let me just put the link to the stream in the chat if you want to join me. If I recognize you, I'll let you in, and we can chat about the art. Greetings, Hadakar. I know you said you were busy, but if you want to join me in the stream, that's fine too. So the cover is one of those classic Frazetta images, the barbarian with the winged helmet. It's one of my favorite images. I used to have a t-shirt with that image way back, mumble 30 years ago or so. And if I'm going to rate this one, that one's a solid 9 for me. There's a lot about this one I really like. Just the overall composition, the way the rock formations lead your eye to the main focus, the skeletons lying on the ground, this weird thing here, like, is this the tail of a dragon or a snake, or what is it? I don't know, but he clearly is about to whack it with his axe, or is heading towards that. So one of those great Frazetta images, if you ask me. So let's get into the book. So these are actually both right-hand pages. It's just the scan I have doesn't include the entirely white pages that are on the left hand. But two lovely little black and white ink pieces. I quite like the rider on the horse, very dynamic. Even though I'm not sure a horse has short legs like that, but there we go. Let's go to the color pieces. Another little, looks like a caveman maybe. Another little ink drawing. A couple other small pieces. And here we have our first color piece in the book. I'm just pausing. I don't know if you guys heard that. I've got a train going by. So this one's called Flying Reptiles. And even though it's called Flying Reptiles, I really feel the focus is more on that saber-toothed tiger and on her fighting it. The reptiles seem to just be accessories, but they do look cool too. We were critiquing last time some of the anatomy of the animals, and here it's kind of odd. Like, I don't quite get where the front paw is here versus the hind paw, which looks very small. Usually it's the other way around for most quadrupeds. But that's really quibbling. I do like the background, just very suggestive, no details. So next we have Jongar Fights Back. Jongar may be one of the lesser known pulp heroes from the, I think, 40s, if my memory serves. There were 3 books. A barbarian and a girl riding on a giant lizard, and I guess he's fighting off those pterodactyls with his bow. We don't see what he's aiming at, but it is suggested. We see the tips of wings here, and we see a complete... This could be a bat too, but it's either way, he's fighting them off. Uh, Background is a little bit plain, just uniform color for the most part. There's a suggestion of a cliff or maybe a tree here, but that's really it. This is a very minimal painting for Frazetta, who tends to have more dynamic backgrounds. Next, we have Ponytail, which is a really bad pun. Some sort of non-human, though humanoid creature talking to a barbarian. We see a bridge leading to a tower of some sort, maybe a wizard tower in the background. So this is what I mean when I meant that his backgrounds are much more dynamic. There's a lot more happening here in the background than in the previous image. So I'd rate this one a bit higher because I forgot to rate this one. This one I'd give it a solid 7.5. This one I'd give it a 7. And this one I'd give it a 7.5 also. It's nice to see a non-action pose, just a confrontation. We don't know what's going to happen. It could be, the start of the story when there's the first encounter, or it could be just before the action happens. We don't know, and that's one of the things I like about this illustration. The next one is called Stranded. This is one of the rare SF science fiction illustrations Frazetta has done. On it, we see a man. He seems rather old. Certainly, he's been there for a while. And these strange one-eyed creatures are standing around him. He seems to be on a very desolate area of a planet. And we see some ringed planets and moons up in the background sky. Yeah. Greetings, Coco. Sorry, misread that. You can join me in the stream if you want. Yeah. I actually quite like this one. It's more contemplative than many of the other Frazettas, which are very action based. I'm going to give this one an 8, though I do suspect that the old geek would give it less because it's science fiction. Though he might decide he likes it, because you never know. Next, we have Land of Terror, which, if my memory serves, was the cover for one of the Edgar Rice Burroughs Pellucidar books. And in it, we see what I would call 2 ape men attacking a bowman and a woman. He's fighting with a bow. She has what appears to be a dagger in her hand. I quite like this image. It's very... Sometimes minimalism can really work. Like here, the orange background just has and we just have the shape of the figures and what maybe they're shadows below them, though it doesn't quite match up. I'm not sure what this would be the shadow of, if this is a shadow, because he doesn't seem to be holding anything, and this would presumably be his arm. And I'm not sure what this here is, maybe just a branch. Some nice suggestions, some nice work here too. Yes, there was. Though this one I think is much more dynamic in terms of the poses and the action. And I think the Pictish one we couldn't figure out what it was a cover of. Whereas this one, I know Land of Terror is a Pellucidar book, and it makes sense because there are ape men in the on the inner earth, or in the inner earth. How would you say that? But yeah, I would give this one a solid 8.5. Moving on, we have the Moonmaid. which actually shows a centaur, and she's riding him. So one of the things I like about this one is how much bigger he is than her. Because if you've for those people who've never seen a horse, horses are bigger than you think. And for a centaur, you either need a small horse body, so it's like pony sized at best, or you need a really big torso, head, and arms for it to match up. And that's what he chose to do. And I think it really works. I quite like the background too. The moon, maybe it's two moons because of that bigger light blue circle and the birds flying here. Yeah, exactly. The centaurs are really huge. Yes, Coco, that was an ERB. In fact, the Moonmaid is the title of an ERB book. Though, if my memory serves, there were no centaurs in it, but I might be wrong about that. It's been over 20 years since I read it. So yeah, I think the size here makes more sense. Galloping centaur with girl riding on him. And here we have a detail of the same painting. I should mention, I would give this one a solid 8.5. And if we look at the detail, we can see some, her headdress is quite detailed, mostly suggested. He seems to have rings in his ears. Am I wrong here? So he seems to have some earrings. Yeah. Yeah, Coco. So probably better than me too. So it's been a while since I've seen a horse up close and dealt with it. So yeah, but it's just for the torso to not look tiny and wrong. It would really need to be big, and I think we have a correct proportion here. Okay, next, this is a classic. I think most people are familiar with this image. Coco, I think you're very familiar with it too. It's called The Destroyer, and it is a Conan cover. And that one, that's to me, that is a 10. I like the fact he's fighting with an axe, not with a sword. You use a shield to protect yourself, but you can whack your enemy with it too, which he's doing while he's taking his swing, making sure that they keep their distance. And yeah, just a great cover, great image. I'm going to look at it a bit more just because it's so nice. All the detail. And I think actually, yes, we have a more up close detail. And we see here how sometimes reproductions change, because look at the bluish tinge in everything here, and here it's mostly gone. Yes, the one with the axe is better than the strangling Conan. And the detail shows us just how much work was put in. Look at this collar here, the sheet, the helmet has all this wonderful detail on it. Yeah, this is one of those perfect Conan images. Okay, next. This one's called Paradox, and I don't know why. I don't know what book it's from. We see someone standing in knee deep in water holding a sword, and these two women, they could be demons or angels. I mean, one of them seems to have feathered wings, unless it's just a decoration on the seat she's on. The other one doesn't seem to have wings or anything like that. I mean, although this black shape around her head, this could be hair, this could be a cape, this could be, I don't know, a suggestion of wings. And there's stairs going up to an unknown portal. Um, I quite like the water and the reflection here in the water. Very suggestive of, calm waters or just been disturbed by the man walking in it. Um, I'm not too, yeah, I'm not super excited by this one. I'll give it a solid 7 because it's hard to give less than that to Frazetta for me anyway. Um, so next we have Monster Out of Time, in which we see a man fighting a very big alligator crocodile uh, with a spear. He's just shoved it through the animal, in fact. And I think the title might be because I know there's a set of Burroughs stories where they get to this island and animals from the entire history of the earth, dinosaurs and all ancient mammals and all sorts of stuff are there. So maybe that was for one of these books. I can't remember. I know yeah. But I quite like that. I like the water splashing, quite well done. Suggestion, uh, you know, some suggested vegetation here, but there's also very maybe hard to see. I don't know. Silhouette of a tree here, so there's quite a bit of jungle type environment being suggested here. This one's a solid 8.5 to 9 for me. So I'll move on to the Norseman. Again, another one that I don't know the book from, but we see a barbarian who seems to be wielding a staff, which is an unusual weapon we rarely see on book covers and things like that. And he's facing a cloaked figure who seems to be either quite large or just appearing out of nowhere. It's not clear. Um, Maybe a wizard casting a spell. But yeah, it's another one of those great covers, very suggestive. We wonder what's happening. Um, Also like the fact that the hooded figure, we don't see the glowing red eyes, which are so overdone, I find. Just having the face in darkness is enough. And I do love the way the shadow goes over all the way to the hand here. It's quite nice. Um, Greetings, Iman. Hope you're doing well. So, as I was saying, I quite like this one. I'm going to give this one a 9. Um, and you got to wonder, I mean, he doesn't have as much armor, but could it be the same barbarian as on the cover? Because he could have the same helmet. I don't know. I thought it was a quarterstaff because of the way he's holding it. Um, but yeah, it could be the hint of a blade down there next to his foot. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But I like the idea of it being a quarterstaff with the blade down. Yeah, it could be. I think both interpretations could be justified. Um, I'd also start to wonder what this red here is, if that's the flame. What is, or is this just some flames that are between him and the cloaked figure? Yeah, that's yeah, the North Coco. That's it could be. I mean, Although the hair doesn't seem, if I recall, Fafd, I can never pronounce that name. He has reddish hair, but yeah, yeah, 9. I think a 9 is fair. It's I agree with you, Iman. Yeah, folks in the chat, feel free to rate them too. This one's called Escape on Venus, and we see a woman holding a dagger walking in swamps and jungles, and she's confronting a very large, I'm going to say tiger, though it doesn't quite look like one. And I think, yeah, Escape on Venus is one of the Edgar Rice Burroughs Venus novels. There's only 4 of them, so they're not quite as popular as the Mars ones, but I quite enjoyed them. The tiger. Oh, I did not know there was an action figure, Coco. Yeah, he is back to his favorite, the girls with the big booties. I find the tiger looks a bit odd. He's got like, unless it's a tigress and she's gravid, because it looks like a very big tummy here for a tiger. It's very a bit odd. There's some nice stuff in this image, though. Don't get me wrong, but not as good as the preceding one, if you ask me. But still, I think a solid 8. Let's move on. And this is a Princess of Mars. Another one of the Edgar Rice Burroughs covers that he did. In the background, presumably it's Mars with one of its moons, which we now know to be more potato-shaped than spherical, but that's okay. Yeah. One of the things about this one that I find a bit disappointing is that we see the Martian here with the four, well, 2 of his 4 arms, is a third one here. But with this lizard in the background, it's hard to differentiate the two because the colors are so similar. That's the only thing really about it, because I like all of it quite a lot, and might not go quite as high as you, Iman. I'd go to 8.5. But it's also the first Halakar. It is also the first John Carter book, A Princess of Mars. So if you started with that one, that was the one to start with. So moving on, I'm just going to change the view because we've got a few horizontal ones. This one is called John Carter and the Savage Apes of Mars, because yeah, Mars doesn't only have men and princesses, but it also has these strange apes that, like the Green Martians, have 4 arms. This, for those who haven't read it, this seems to be a recurring thing on Barsoom, which is the name of Edgar Rice Burroughs' Mars, is that all men or man-like creatures have an extra set of hands, and things like horses and lions and stuff have like 6 or 8 legs. Yes, that's true. John Carter, because the gravity is lower, could jump way higher than most people. So in this instance, the large jump he's doing makes sense within the story. Yes, Coco. Yeah, the Michael Whalen covers are also really good. And I have a few with Roy Krenkel covers also, which are really good. So yeah, this one's quite good. And one of the things that's interesting about it is that we see how like the front and back cover, and how there's a space in the middle here that's fairly empty of details. Like the main figures are here, We see them fighting. You flip the book over, you see what they're fighting for. Yeah, the city is different, strange. This is what we want. It doesn't look like some strange city on Earth. It looks like a different city. It doesn't look like Earth architecture. So, yeah, that one I will give a 9 because I quite like it. I believe here we have this one is Tuvia Made of Mars. This is another classic image, though very often we only see the right-hand side of it with John Carter and Tuvia. And we have another one of those strange lion, tiger with extra wide mouth. What we don't see here are the extra legs, which we've discussed before. They're very hard. It's very hard to make an animal with 6 or 8 legs look natural. Oh no, the demonetization. Well, I'm not monetized because I'm far from being able to be monetized. So there we go. Cat has a very human-like face. Yeah, there's some odd things about that. The face of the cat here. But that's another classic, and for me, that's another 9. And I know that might be partly nostalgia. Again, we have the strange city in the background, the planets floating in the sky. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, she is wearing a pink top. It's very hard to see because of the highlights. So there you go, YouTube. She's wearing a top. This is a black and white sketch from the Chessmen of Mars. There's actually a quote. Let me actually go back to normal to so yeah. And a quote here is, "To Terra's horror, the headless body moved, took the hideous head in its hands, and set it on its shoulders." So what I'm not clear on is this the hideous head it's going to be taking in its hands? Because I see another one here and maybe a third one there. I think it is. And those tentacles would go in the neck so it could control the body. Yeah. Her pose is a little static. I wouldn't be quite so calm seeming if I was seeing something that horrifies me. I'd be on my way elsewhere, if you see what I mean. But it's still a nice image. I quite like it. I like the use of the archway to generate this very large black shape to outline part of the silhouette and the smoke and so on. And we have another black and white sketch from the Chessmen of Mars. Can we see the chess pieces, anyone? Yeah, I think 6 is fair for the previous one. And then as Gaen entered his square, Udor leaped towards him with drawn swords. So yeah, they're playing chess, but it's a rather deadly chess. And this is a very, very often illustrated scene in that book. A lot of the book covers feature this combat on the chess board. All right. Sheba. Yeah, the perspective. Yeah, you better have perspective if you're going to do a chessboard like that. Next, we have Sheba. This is not sure where it's from, but I quite like this overall drawing. Though all this detail here is quite nice. Very lovely suggestion of detail. The large cat, if it's a panther, might be a little bit on the small side, but I'm fine with that. Yeah. Yeah, if it's a house cat, it's really big, but a bit tiny for a panther. But that's fine. Maybe it's a young one. This is your fairly, standard black and white illustration you would see in this genre. And this is a scene from The Lord of the Rings. Um, uh, with the Nazgul fighting. Yeah. She seems to have almost given up, which I find a bit annoying because that is not what happens. Uh, I do like the Nazgul. I like that he has a mace, uh, uh, a weapon we don't see illustrated often enough, though it was fairly common back in medieval times. It's just she should be, if it's, you know, she should be defending her fodder and killing it. So um, it's my only quibble, but it's still a fine illustration uh, in my view. Yeah. Yeah, he is opening himself up way too much. You're right. And she's like, take advantage of the opening, girl. But yeah, I'd be willing to give it a 7.5. Next, we have, yeah, you're right, Halakar. The Nazgul do think they're invulnerable because they are really tough to be, to be fair. This one is called Kubla's Anguish. In it, we see one warrior holding another. This is after combat because there's another fallen. Yeah, there's another fallen one here on the ground. Um, yeah, the aftermath of combat, something we don't see very often in illustrations. The dead foe and dying seems to have an arrow stuck in him, unless this is just an ally. Yeah, good emotional depiction. Uh, we do feel he's sad for his comrade. Um, so yeah, I'd give this one an 8 because I really like the emotions in it. We also feel the pain of of this one. The hand is sort of clenched and he's in an awkward pose. But when you're in pain, you're going to be in an awkward pose easily without noticing. So yeah, a good 8 for me. Next, we have the Mad King, which again is one of those that I don't know. Ooh, yeah, Iman, that's great. A video game of his revenge arc. Yeah, that would be good. Actually, I'd love to have a video game with that kind of rendering throughout instead of all this fancy 3D stuff. Just black and white and texture and stuff would be cool. Um, so the Mad King. I don't know what book it's from. It does seem to be historical. We see some cannons. Um, and it doesn't seem to be quite as fantastical in terms of the armor and all that. The uniforms seem, I mean, not modern, but certainly, from the last few hundred years. Um, it's I quite like it. And we see this castle in the background. Yeah, this is a solid 8 for me. Edgar Rice Burroughs, The Mad King, according to Google. Thank you, Coco. I assume this will be one of his because he also wrote some non-fantasy, non-science fiction books. They were just straight out adventure, some of them historical. So I would assume that that's what it's about. Maybe it's King George. Uh, yeah, it's very gray. I mean, all the clouds here are very gray, desaturated. The ground is quite desaturated everywhere. I think, and even the red isn't fully saturated. It's a bit toned down. So it's very it's less contrasty than a lot of stuff we tend to have. But yeah, I think 8 is fair. Next, we have Gulliver of Mars, um, which, again, another one I don't know the book of, but we will assume that Gulliver is the foreground figure. He travels to a strange Mars filled with strange beasts. Um, Quite like the fact we can't just identify what they are at a glance. Um, they seem rather strange and alien, which is a lot of the Frazetta creatures are always prehistoric beasts or modern day beasts. This is very much different. Uh, I mean, it could be a dragon head, but then the paws or feet look odd. They're kind of like hooved, but not. It's strange. Um, though it's very there's no sharpness to any of it. It's very suggestive throughout. Um, I think I'm going to give this one a 7. Uh, if I knew more about it, maybe I'd give it more, but there's not quite enough for me to want to find for me to call it more than that. And moving on. This is Jungle Tales of Tarzan. So we see Tarzan with confronting, I guess, a chimpanzee. I would assume. We don't quite see his head, but he sure has some pretty big fangs here. That's what I'll assume. Um, which seem to be, yeah. Uh, the arms seem very big compared to the legs for the chimp, but fine. I'm willing to forgive that. I quite like the texture of this one. This white and just, you know, almost unidirectional strokes, a lot of verticals, some horizontals here for the trunk and for the monkey, and on the arms of Tarzan, so the shadows and light playing on his arms and legs. Yeah, Cheetah, the teen years, indeed. Greetings, John. I have put the here. I'll put it up again for anyone who wants to join me. A link to the stream. But yeah, uh, yeah, it does look comic bookish. So as we mentioned when we were doing the previous book, Frazetta did work a lot in comics, and transitioning to book covers. Some of the aesthetics might have been kept, and uh, this might be the case here. But it's a good cover. There's plenty of space for the title up here. It's got impact, and we have to remember too that these will be reproduced much smaller. So sometimes they feel like they have more detail because they're reduced. But I like that one. I'm going to give it a solid 8. And let's go back to single page. This is the Golden Girl. Greetings, Bear.
Excellent timing for me. Hubba hubba.
Hello,
Yeah.
hello.
Greetings,
Hello.
John. Yeah. So here we go. This one I don't think was ever a book cover. I think it's just an illustration. But it's one you see reproduced a lot for, I think, obvious reasons. Halakar, something about this one draws me in. Yeah, I wonder what it could be.
Oh, for me, it's clearly the fact that Beans is in the picture right behind her head, so that's why.
Yeah. It's wait.
It seems it's a different style to the book we looked at last time.
Yeah, this one is. I mean, except for a little bit, the mountains in the background, things are a little bit more solid as opposed to just suggested in this one.
I mean, the two pictures I've seen so far, the whole style of the book compared to the last book we went through, it's got like a softer look to it.
Well, yeah. Frazetta's style evolved over the course of his career a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't like, so Frazetta sort of avoided the trap that Julie Bell and Louis Royo and a lot of those guys fell into, where they never evolved. They figured out their style, Chrysachilios, and they just stuck with it. Frazetta, he evolved all through his style. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Very good artist.
Yeah. And what I like about this one is, if you look at the foreground, like the bird and the butterflies and stuff, you see how much observation he could do, to be accurate. It was, not just with people, but with animals. It took a while for him to get some animals right, but once he got them,
how many young males looking at this picture though would focus on the foreground?
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
So there's that thing they do on Red Letter Media. They say you might have missed it, but your brain didn't, right? Yeah. And that's the point, is even though you're focusing on the naked woman, your brain is seeing the whole image, and it's having an effect on you that's making you appreciate it more. You throw a picture up of just a naked woman, people are going to like it, but they're not going to rave about it as a classic piece of art or anything like that. Right. You put this level of work into it, they still like the naked lady, but then there's the brain picking up the rest of it and having an effect, right? Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Plus, also, I don't know if you've known any artists that do this type of work. They get women. It's sick. It's disturbing, because they just say, I'm just looking for some models for my painting. And women are like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like photographers. They just women all the time.
Yeah. For me, this one it's a 10.
I'd say it's a 9.
Okay.
I'm with. I mean, as I said last time, I'm not so much into the gratuitous. I prefer suggested sort of effect, but it's still a solid 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, so I just changed to. This is a detail.
Oh, I like her one eye look thing. That's cool.
Yeah. And this one, Against the Gods. I think that's a classic cover.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the lighting of the effect of the lightning.
Yeah.
Really, really contrasting beautifully. I love it. Love this one.
It's very dramatic.
A lesser artist would have gone for a blue background to sort of play up the lightning and the effect it's having on his body. But here you have Frazetta going, no, I'm going to starkly contrast his body against the sky so that you're forced to stare at it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
That's fantasy art at its best. That's a straight 10 for me.
Yeah.
I'll give that one a 10, easily.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Yeah, here. This should be covered for a master level adventure to test to become an immortal. Yeah.
It could also be this is how magic weapons are created.
Yeah, that too.
It could also be a lesson in why you don't curse gods.
Yes, yes. Or it could be learning about how metal conducts electricity.
Yeah. Why you don't stand holding a sword up in the air on top of the mountain during a thunderstorm?
And other safety tips from Conan.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So solid 10, I think, from all of us.
Yeah.
Let's go on. This one's called Madame Derringer. Or Derringer. I never know how to pronounce that.
Derringer. You got it right, Derringer.
Okay, Derringer. So yeah, probably one of those pulp adventure, but not
probably a dime store, cowboy, western novella or something.
Western type story. So
yeah,
it's
all right.
I think it doesn't appeal to us as much because it doesn't appeal to the same.
Oh no, I love
imagination.
I think I like it because it feels very natural to me.
I like the fact she's riding side saddle.
Yes.
What I don't like is that the horse looks like it's about to fall.
Yes.
Right? Like it looks like it's falling back on its haunches.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't like that. It gives me like unease.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, nice piece.
It's a nice piece, though.
Yeah. It is nice, yes. And Halaka's right there. It is a difficult pose.
Yeah.
It is difficult.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll give it a solid 8. Mostly because of the horse. I find like she's got this very calm pose and the horse is very much out of balance. So
yeah,
there's a disconnect there for me, but that's...
And I agree with you on that. The horse looks distressed. She does not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 8's fair. I think 8 is very fair. I quite like the contrast, the way she's not fussed that the horse is stressing. She's like, I've got this in hand.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. This one's called Combat. Very different subject matter for Frazetta. And this one's dated 65. So, again, maybe one of those, wartime action novels from the period.
Maybe.
One of those from a comic book, yeah.
It looks too heroic for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Bear, you're right. It is.
Yeah.
It is a display of utter heroism. He's clearly saving his friend, his colleague, from an onslaught. I like the watery effect. That's the bit that got me.
Yeah.
More than the figures.
This area here.
Yeah, the little splashes and the reflection. I think that's done very nicely.
And the shots coming in.
Oh yeah. I hadn't spotted those.
Yeah. So I mean, he's got a machine gun, but clearly it's a machine gun shooting at them too. So.
Yep.
It's all right. I give it a 8.5.
I'm going to give it 7.5. I'm not overly.
I was going to go for 7.5 also.
I'm not overly enamored by the figures. I like the atmospheric stuff around it more than the figures themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next is Beasts of Venus. And I have the book with this cover. It's one of the Edgar Rice Burroughs Venus books. We see a man and a woman up on a tree while this strange feline is fighting like a a warthog of some sort with
Is
horns.
first thought I had there is the tree alive?
Yeah,
I'm thinking of the Lord of the Rings with Pippi and Merry and Pippin,
yeah.
and
When
the
they,
Ents.
yeah,
But then you've got that strange stripy thing at the front. Is that
yeah.
that is a feline, isn't it? Yes, you can see the mouth.
I don't know. It doesn't feel exciting to me. It feels like he's going for something, but he's not hitting it for me.
I had to stare at the bottom for too long to work out what was going on. It's too complex at the bottom.
Yeah. And there's not quite enough contrast between, I'm going to call it a warthog, but it's not because it's got horns too. And there's a lack of, like there's some fur here, but then it's also on the feline, on the back of the feline, which makes things a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that tree is alive. I think that tree is walking on those roots.
I don't think so. I don't feel it, but okay.
Coco's asking if it's early, and I see the signature, but it's actually not dated.
What's the name of the painting?
It's called Beasts of Venus, and I know it's the cover of one of the Venus books, the Edgar Rice Burroughs Venus. I just can't reach it from where I am to check when it was published.
Yeah, it's got no date at the museum.
Yeah. So, but I think 7.5.
6 for me.
I'm going in the middle of you two with 6.5.
Okay.
Too busy at the front.
All right, moving on. This one is the Ghoul Queen.
I know this one. I've seen this one before.
I don't know where it's from. What's the cover, or what book it's a cover for?
I'd like to meet the women who posed for Frazetta.
Mm-hmm.
He liked him thick.
Yeah. What's interesting is there's a lot of stuff you don't see right away. I mean, you can see that lizard head. This is clearly maybe the tip of the tentacle, long tentacle. But there's another woman lying down here.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see her.
Yeah.
Just realised it's a vulture in the background.
Yeah.
4 ghouls. 4 ghouls? Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 5 with this guy here.
Or is that just a...
Who's more of a skeleton, but he seems to have eyes, so...
I can't see that. I can't see close enough.
Here, let me zoom in. Hold on. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me try and find the right keyboard shortcut. See what I mean with the eyes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What program are you using for this?
Oh, it's just a PDF in Acrobat.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see you're on a Mac as well.
Yep.
So they are subservient to her.
That's what I would assume from the title.
One of them looks really stupid. The one in the middle.
This one here, yeah.
The look on his face is one of...
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got little nuggets in that are good.
Yeah.
But the overall is just not as good as Conan with the sword in the air.
No, not as good. It's got some nuggets.
It's a 5 for me. It's not blowing me away. I know it, but it is not blowing me away.
Yeah.
It's a 6.5 for me.
Yeah, I think six for me.
I guess I'm the
Coco,
Russian.
I can just barely make out a 74 next to Frazetta's signature. So it's not too early. Next, we have one called Birdman, which could, I guess, also be called Icarus, because that's almost what it seems to be.
It's nice.
But it's nice.
What is that? What is that? Is it a pillar or a tree behind?
I don't know what's
Or is
behind
it
it.
is it an opening that
He's flying out of that just looks odd.
Yeah,
The only
that
thing
could be it. I mean, if this is, if this is like the edge of like a rock formation and the other edge, and that's outside, and he's flying in, something like that.
It's difficult to make out. I mean, I think the figure
It
looks
is.
fantastic,
Yeah.
apart from the fact that his feet seem to be merging with whatever that is
Yeah.
in the middle. But there's a good feeling of motion on it.
Yeah.
Lovely highlighting again.
I like the little hints. I don't know if you can see them. Let me try and zoom in again. But you can see like ropes tied to his arms. So those are not his wings. Presumably
Yeah.
they're attached like Icarus wings.
So you can't see that normally.
No, it's very hard to see.
I like things that make me wonder exactly what's going on, and so I'm sat looking at this. I'm trying to work out what it is behind. I mean, I like that, but is it a good thing or a bad thing that you don't know what half the picture is?
Exactly. I mean, that to me, I like the figure, but it's the background loses me, and yeah, I think I'm going to give this one a 7.
I think it's an 8.
I can live with 7.
Okay. Let's go on to the next one. This is called Bucking Bronco. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of misspellings in this book, John. So quite the dynamic pose there, especially for the cowboy up there being thrown off the horse.
He's got the distressed horse better, I think. So a bucking bronco is a distressed horse. It is pissed off with it. It's pissed off with its rider. It wants you off, and he's got that. He's got that down to a T here. It looks much better than the horse. And it's
better than Derringer Lady.
Yeah, it is, but it is reminiscent in the color palette. Very monochrome.
Well, sepia. That's sepia, right? That's going for that old West 1800s look. So it plays to the image.
It looks authentic, though, doesn't it? He's got that really, really well. I mean,
and the figures behind the corral, like they look, worried. There's tension there, so that's pretty good too.
I give it an 8.
Yeah, I think an 8 is good.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, that's about right. 8. It's a good one. It's quite good. Like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this one's called Beyond the Farthest Star, and this is the cover for an Edgar Rice Burroughs book. In fact, it's the only Edgar Rice Burroughs book that's one of his space romances set in another solar system. All the others are Mars or Venus. This is actually a totally, entirely different solar system.
I mean, the Flora looks quite jungle-ish.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for the fact that there was this alien beast that you don't know what it looks like from the front, that's into mystery, then it could be Earth.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, the ship is odd, but it doesn't feel like a spaceship.
No,
No,
it feels like Dracula's World War II fighter plane.
Yeah. So,
I quite like the tree. I think the tree's
yeah,
well
I like the
done.
composition with, everything black on top, and we have this opening to the sky through the trees. It'd be
And I
nice
am
to
wondering what the monster looks like from the other side.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's got a smiling, friendly face. It probably hasn't, though. But you're right.
Yeah.
The ship looks rubbish.
Yeah.
And the people are meh.
Mhm.
I give it a 3.
6 from me.
Yeah, I think 6-2, mostly because of the composition, just the placement of stuff and the,
Meh.
Okay.
We agree to disagree.
Yep.
Ooh.
This one is called Downward to the Earth.
Ooh, indeed.
Yeah.
Is that a chica down there in the lower right corner?
In the lower right corner. I can't make it.
No, it's just fire, but it looks like a female in this distance.
Okay. I can zoom
I
in a
love
bit.
the background. I love that background effect.
Yeah. I mean, looks like a mastodont, and I'm not sure what that middle creature is.
A giant ape of some sort.
Yeah. But
Perhaps.
look at the claws of it. So I'm thinking, is it because it's downwards to the earth? I think it's one of those prehistoric, they go inside a cave down in the center of the earth and there's prehistoric animals. So is it a giant sloth?
What's okay? Zoom in on the right corner, but right above his signature. What is that?
I don't know. It seems to be some strange growths with some bioluminescence on top.
That's weird.
Hard to say. Yeah, giant sloth thingy.
Demonic elephants with those eyes.
Yeah, let me just. Yeah, with the white pupilless eyes is very odd looking.
Speaking of demons, hello bees.
It's genuinely unsettling. I think that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
This is a 9 from me. I like it. I like it a lot.
I was gonna go with 8.
I'm the generous one today. I'm normally the one.
8.5. I do get accosted by a cat.
Okay. So going to the next one. This is the Return of the Mucker. I know the Mucker is a character created by Edgar Rice Burroughs. They're quote-unquote modern-day adventurers, so set about 100 years ago. He's an adventurer. Goes through all sorts of stuff. So, greetings, Dirty History and Hobbies. The horse looks very unhappy to have 2 men fighting on top of him.
It does, yes.
Which it should.
The only thing that gets me about this one is it feels like the central scene is just superimposed on the background.
Yes. There's not even like a decent amount of shadow down here to
Nothing at all.
integrate it. The closest thing to, giving a context to where they are those few rocks here, which seem to be drawn on the same, that they're on the same plane as they are, but it's not enough to set them where they are. Now that said,
I mean, if this was done in a modern by some modern artist, I'd say they'd use Photoshop.
Yeah. It looks like a bad Photoshop retouching down here. And I've seen plenty, so I know. But the action is pretty clear. Clearly, he grabbed this guy from behind. And then you'd imagine, because the other one was on the horse, where did he jump from to grab him like that?
something off.
Something entirely
off.
off. It's not the end of the world, but even if that had been there, that would have helped to integrate the figures to the. I do like the sombrero flying off as they're struggling.
It could have been very good if there was just a little bit more integration with the figures in the background.
Yeah.
A little bit more context. As it is, it's flawed. It's a 5 from me.
Yeah.
Me too.
6 for me because I like the expressions on the two figures. Okay. This one is called The Lost Empire. And I'm pretty sure that's a Tarzan cover.
Yeah.
Very much in the same style as the previous Tarzan cover we saw in this book. A lot of white, and he did this thing with these books where there's a lot of parallel strokes, brush strokes happening. I don't like that one quite as much as the other one. I do wonder what that city here is. What's the Lost Empire?
What's the thing on his shoulder?
Monkey.
It's a monkey.
It doesn't look like a monkey.
That's a monkey.
Yeah, it's one of those little monkeys with a tail. So it's a South American monkey accompanying Tarzan. Ignore the contradiction. But Tarzan did wander quite a bit in his adventures. There's a lot of books. So this could be set elsewhere than Africa.
I don't know about this one. Don't know.
I give it a 6.
Yeah, that's where I'm heading.
Yeah, I was heading more to 6.5 or 7 myself.
It's not terrible. It wouldn't sell me the book that it's on there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's way better than some of the Tarzan covers I have, so.
I don't have any Tarzan covers.
All right. Moving on. This one's called Spaceman. Just black and white ink drawing.
His knee is wrong.
Yeah, the knee looks wrong here. Looks actually painful.
It does. It does. Looks low effort compared to some of the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Frazetta does these weird spaceships that don't really look like spaceships that are technological. I don't know how else to explain it.
I think the spaceship. I mean, for me, I think the spaceship's the best part of this picture.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I like the spaceship, but it doesn't look like something that'll come out of like NASA at all.
Or, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad at all. I like it, but Frazetta's spaceships, when he doesn't have a lot of them, but they always look more magical than technological.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give this one a 6.
Yeah, I agree with Bear. I think the spaceship rescues it. The figure's wonky.
Yeah.
The figure does feel low effort.
Okay. This one's called Duel. It was also used on the title page of this book at a smaller reproduction. I will assume from the helmet and stuff that it's It was an inner illustration for one of the Barsoom books. Also would explain the big jump. Yes. Greetings, Seraphis. And yes, it is, in some ways, Rodney Matthews is reminiscent of that. Yeah. The spiky stuff sticking out all over.
So, are they fighting over the woman in the middle? And
Maybe.
what?
What I don't understand is why his sword is here.
And what has the guy on the left launched himself off, and why?
Well, if it's a John Carter book, he's on Mars, and it is stated in the books that he can jump tremendously high because of the low gravity. So when it's got the same sabers and helmet as some other John Carter illustration we've seen earlier. So I'm willing to grant the weird jump because of the story, for story reasons. He doesn't need to launch himself off of anything because he can jump multiple meters up in the air because he's from Earth, which has 3 times the gravity.
I'm afraid this one's a 3 from me.
Yeah.
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 It doesn't grab me. Me. Feels awkward. And okay, you've given some context for why he's jumping weirdly, but
Yeah. But at the same time, like I said, is where does this sword come from? If he had it in his hand, either one, why is it over there? You know, makes no sense to me. Yeah. Dirty History and Hobbies makes a good point, is that the upper sword looked like it's upside down coming out of the basket and hilt. It's true. The way he's holding it, you'd expect it to curve the other way.
He's slashing awkwardly. He's slashing from the foreground to the background.
Maybe.
But it's very, very. It's awkward. It's awkward.
It's awkward. Yeah, there's a fun shot. I think 4 for me.
3.
Yeah.
I think the more we look at it, the more we find details that are annoying.
Yeah.
Like, why she got her tits out?
Yeah. This one's called Kublai Khan. And it was the other illustrate. There's 2 title pages in this book. That was the one on the other title page. I quite like that one.
Yeah, it's much better than the last one.
Yeah. I will say, I said that when we looked at the title pages, the front legs of the horse look really small when compared to the legs of the rider.
Yes.
You know, horses have long legs.
And look at how muscular the horse's back legs are.
Yeah.
It's the horse is weird. The horse is very weird. But I like it. I like the energy in it. And it feels. No, it's like the last. Actually, the more I look at it, it's more like the last one. The more I look at it, the more awkward it gets.
Yeah.
It was going to get a 6 or a 7, but it's down to a 4. Yeah, Bear's giving it 4 as well.
I'll be giving it a 5. Where did you see Bear giving him a 4?
He's waving his
okay,
fingers.
Sorry. It's just when I have the PDF on screen, I don't see the entire StreamYard window.
I have a cat around my neck. 10.
10. Yeah, that's the Huntress.
10, you reckon?
Yeah.
Now I'm looking for things that are wrong with it.
What's not to love? You got 2 Smilodons and a hot babe. It's a 10.
Yeah. And also they're facing you, which is apparently a really hard pose to not make them look silly.
I'm looking for flaws to try and contradict Bear, but I'm not finding.
No. I mean, this is a 10.
It's good. It's really good. The Smilodons look look genuinely menacing.
Yeah.
She
I'm free. My oppressor has released me.
Ah,
Definitely a 10.
yeah.
I'm going to go 9.
Ah,
Contrarian.
But yeah, it's good. It is good.
it's very good. And this is Dark
Oh, that's
Kingdom.
classic.
That's a classic. It's also the cover of this book. And when we were at the cover, I was mentioning I used to have a T-shirt with that figure on it. And
I see why.
don't. Yeah, it's really good. It's a bit lighter on the cover. We see more detail in the face and down here. So what you can't quite make out here, this shape here seems like either the tail of a very large dragon or a snake or something like that. There's a couple of skeletons down here, and it's very good.
I like the gnarliness of this one.
Yeah,
He's clearly been through a few fights, and he's up for more. He's up
yeah,
for
and
more.
he's going to the next one. That's clearly what it is. There's a detail of it which, luckily, we see more detail of the face, and
I was going to say the axe looked odd, but now you've zoomed in, you can see. I can see that it's the lumps of blood and gore on it that made the blade
Yeah.
look odd. It looks great now.
yeah. And his equipment's got some good detail.
Fantastic.
I like it. I mean, for me, this one's a 10.
Yeah,
It's a
I'm
9
with
for
Slan.
me.
I'm with Slan here. This is a 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm not. If it was a chick, it'd be a 10.
It's still good though, isn't it? It's still good.
Hey, it's a 9, man. Come on.
Yeah. Coco says it's Kane, which could be. I've only ever seen this in, like in books like this or as a poster or on that T-shirt I used to have. So I don't know if it's actually on the cover of a book. But if Coco says it's Kane, then it could very well be on that cover. And this is the back cover, which is the Moonmaid, which we've seen earlier. So one of the things I'd mentioned, here, let me just center this. One of the things I liked about this one is that it's, she's riding a centaur, and people don't realize that for a centaur to not look like the human part is puny, the torso and arms and head have to be really big, or you have to have a very, pony-sized horse body. Otherwise, it looks too mismatched. So I like.
He's one hell of a badass centaur.
Oh yeah, I give this a 9 for sure because I don't like the background. The figures are great. The background's boring.
Well, it's the cover of the Moonmaid, and part of the novel takes place on the moon. So there's the craters and stuff. The thing that doesn't make sense to me then is that if the blue is the Earth, what's the orange circle? Can't be the sun, unless the moon has a moon we don't know about, but I doubt it. So, and that's the end of the book, guys.
Oh,
Nice.
But this one's an 8.5 from me. I think it's good, but yeah. And now you've pointed out that the sun and the earth.
Yeah.
You're not meant to ask that question.
Yeah. No, you're not. I mean, it's if you ignore the novel, which I've forgotten a lot of it because it's been like close to 30 years since I've read it. But it's your typical Edgar Rice Burroughs adventure tales, and the moon creatures, which aren't centaurs actually. So this, in terms of what's in the novel, is very little that's on the cover is actually in the book. But they'll invade Earth. So eventually I think it's a 2-book series, if my memory serves. So yeah, that's the end of the book. So unless you guys have something you want to say, I'm going to call it.
No problem. No problem.
All right. Thank you for joining me, both of you. Much appreciated. Thank you for everyone in the chat. I hope you all enjoyed looking at the pretty aardvark. And I'll see you all next time.
See ya.